Chapter 1171 Today's Wealth. Yang Xinshin walked up the high step by step, and then came to the main gate of the Earth Temple. Two tall female guards stood at the door and respectfully opened the tall door of the main hall for her. "Please come in, Miss Yang." Yang Xinshin walked into the hall step by step without any expression on her face. The huge palace was gorgeous and empty. The floor under her feet was the most precious gold bricks. There would be a metallic sound when knocking. It is said that the price of each gold brick is no less than the same volume of gold. When Yang Xinshin raised her head, she saw a beautiful girl in a black dress looking at her with a smile in the distance in front of her. "Yang Xinshin, long time no see." Yang Xinshin nodded. "Long time no see, Guan Longyue." Guan Longyue waved to Yang Xinshin. There was a small tea table next to her. She had prepared black tea and snacks for Yang Xinshin. Yang Xinshin also walked over without hesitation and sat opposite her. The two elementary school classmates who were not very familiar, but not unfamiliar, sat together again after many years. After the end of the world, I have tried to find my old friends. But most of them have disappeared, but some of them are still alive. But in my heart, the person I miss the most is still you. Guan Longyue poured a cup of steaming hot black tea for Yang Xinshin. Yang Xinshin said lightly, "Oh, really? But we don't seem to have much communication. I didn't know I was so important in your heart. You were so dazzling at that time, and it's hard for people to forget it no matter how long it has been," Guan Longyue said with a smile. Yang Xinshin's smile was a little deep. "It's all in the past. Compared with you now, I am just an ordinary person." Guan Longyue's mouth corners curled up slightly. "It's just fate." She picked up a piece of tea from the table, gently put it into her mouth, and took a small bite. "Once upon a time, I never thought there would be such a day." Yang Xinshin said, "Yes, now you are the top existence in Huaxu country." Guan Longyue smiled and shook her head. "Let's not talk about it. Although I have gained a lot of things now, I don't feel happy," she said, subconsciously rubbing her shoulders. "Sometimes, the burden on my shoulders makes me feel too heavy." Yang Xinshin smiled slightly and did not answer. Guan Longyue looked at her delicate and beautiful face like a doll. "Xinshin, have you got the happiness you want?" Yang Xinshin thought of Zhang Yi and those family members, and a sincere smile appeared at the corners of her mouth. "I am very happy now." Guan Longyue opened her cherry lips, took a deep breath, and then looked up at the empty and huge ceiling of the Earth Temple. "I wish I could be as cool as you, but sometimes I can't do what I want to do." Yang Xinshin's eyes drooped slightly. "You already have a high position of power and the ability to dominate the lives and deaths of others. If you crave for more, wouldn't it be too greedy?" Guan Longyue smiled and said, "But sometimes I think there's nothing wrong with being a little greedy." She looked at Yang Xinshin. From the moment Yang Xinshin stepped into the door, her eyes never left Yang Xinshin. This girl who once made her look up to her, elegant and proud, like a crystal porcelain doll, was the kind of person she had longed to be for many years. The kind of flawless genius who was loved by everyone. Guan Longyue once imagined herself. "Xinshin, it's great to see you like this now." Yang Xinshin didn't feel anything about Guan Longyue's address. She and Guan Longyue were not very familiar with each other. This intimate address just reflected Guan Longyue's inner thoughts. Guan Longyue believed that she was now strong enough, so she could get everything she wanted. And the essence of this address is a mentality that others cannot refuse their kindness, like a gift. "Did you come to me this time just to reminisce about the past?" Yang Xinshin asked lightly. Guan Longyue blinked her eyes. "Is it not possible?" She suddenly smiled. Are you so nervous because I want to see you?" "Actually, there is no need for that. I want to see you, just purely want to see you." She suddenly held half of her cheek with the back of her hand and said with a melancholy face, "Hey, when you are in a high position, there will indeed be a kind of trouble. No matter what you do, it will make others have endless reverie. That's why I have no friends around me. I only have subordinates." "Xinshin, can you understand this pain?" Yang Xinshin said lightly, "I don't understand." Guan Longyue sighed lightly. "That's right." Yang Xinshin fell into silence again. Although she expected Guan Longyue's purpose of looking for her, she was not used to flattering others. Seeing this, Guan Longyue pouted slightly and suddenly leaned forward and got close to Yang Xinxin's face. This action made Yang Xinxin frown slightly and lean back slightly. Xinxin, I don't have any friends around me now. Why don't you come and keep me company? In this place, no matter what you want, I can give it to you. You are a genius and should not bury your talent. Yang Xinxin stared at Guan Longyue and said politely, Thank you for your kindness. But I am with everyone now, and I am very happy. So I have not considered leaving them. Guan Longyue asked back, but I heard that you are just a vassal of that guy named Zhang Yi in Tianhai City. There are many people around him, and you are just one of his vassals. Doesn't this bury your talent? She narrowed her eyes, with a bit of laziness in her eyes, but also a flash of sharpness. Others may not understand you, but I know you. You have a very terrible talent. If you want, you can become a very powerful existence, just like me. Yang Xinxin took a sip of black tea. She did not show any heartbeat for Guan Longyue's words, but leaned back in the chair with a happy smile on her face. Guan Longyue, you and I are different. As for me, as long as I can see my brother becoming stronger, I will be very satisfied. Her smile became more intense. Thinking of the years she spent with Zhang Yi and watching Zhang Yi become stronger step by step, her expression became more obsessed and morbid. I am not interested in becoming stronger. As for me, I like the training system. Chapter 1172. Yandra. Guan Longyue's eyes fixed at Yang Xinxin's words. Are you in love with that man named Zhang Yi? Yes. Yang Xinxin responded lightly, without any hesitation or shyness. Guan Longyue's black eyes rippled. What's so good about him? He's just a selfish man who survives in the cracks. Yang Xinxin smiled and shook her head. You will never understand this feeling. In her mind, she thought of the scene when the two met under the Tianqing Academy buried in the snow, and the smile on her face became more and more intense. When I see Brother Zhang Yi being cautious and stubborn, saying that he is selfish, but trying hard to let everyone live well, I will feel a great joy in my heart. As she said, she suddenly put her hands on her chest, with an obsessed smile on her face. It's like a mother watching her child trying to grow up. That feeling is so charming. It's this feeling that makes me deeply infatuated, and I really want to be by his side all the time to see how far he can grow. Guan Longyue was stunned for a long time, and her heart was trembling. After a long time, she also laughed. Sure enough, we are the same kind of people. They are all girls who are crazy inside. Originally, Guan Longyue had many words in her heart to keep Yang Xinxin, hoping to keep Yang Xinxin by her side. But after listening to Yang Xinxin's words, she gave up the idea, because she also wanted to keep this cute and beautiful porcelain doll in front of her by her side and cultivate it like a pet. So of course she understood what kind of feelings Yang Xinxin had for Zhang Yi. Guan Longyue sat up straight. She smiled and looked at Yang Xinxin, looking at Yang Xinxin, who only had Zhang Yi in her eyes. It was as if she was looking at another self, the self she had imagined in her eyes. Oh, I really want you to stay with me. She smiled with her hands covering her mouth, her eyes flashing with a hint of playfulness. But now, I want to see how well you can train that pet. It's not a pet, Yang Xinxin corrected. It's my beloved baby. If the conversation between the two sickly girls was heard by outsiders, they would definitely be horrified. Two girls under the age of 20 actually like to use humans as playthings. The conversation between the two did not involve the past at all. Because Yang Xinxin didn't care about the past, and Guan Longyue didn't want to mention it again. Zhang Yi was standing outside the door, and it was obviously impossible to force Yang Xinxin to stay with him. Guan Longyue and Yang Xinxin sat opposite each other and drank tea. After drinking a cup of tea, Yang Xinxin stood up and said goodbye and left. The test ended here. She couldn't ask Guan Longyue about her ability, but now, she had got what she wanted. Xinxin, wait a minute. I have a gift for you. Guan Longyue took out a wooden box and handed it to Yang Xinxin. What is this? Yang Xinxin asked. You can open it and take a look, Guanlongyue said with a doting look on her face. I spent a long time making this for you. Yang Xinxin lowered her head and reached out to open the wooden box. Inside the wooden box, a doll lay quietly, carved out of wood, lifelike. It was exactly the appearance of Yang Xinxin. In terms of craftsmanship, this wood carving has reached the level of a work of art, and every strand of hair is carved very delicately. It is enough to see how much effort Guanlongyue spent on it. A red rope was wrapped around the body of the wooden sculpture, which looked a little strange, because it was not a common ribbon for tying gifts, but a red hemp rope. What is this? Guanlongyue smiled and said, Amulet. If you encounter any danger one day, untie it. It will be very useful. Yang Xinxin thought about it, reached out to close the lid, and whispered, Thank you. Then she stood up. Then I'll take my leave first. Guanlongyue smiled with her hands covering her mouth. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Yang Xinxin left the Earth Temple without any pause. Guanlongyue looked at her back. A strange blush appeared on her face, and her eyes were intoxicated. She is still the same as before, so noble and elegant. I really want to get her. Then hug her tightly in your arms and play with her hard. She hugged her body with both hands, looking like a nympho. But then she remembered something and looked at the teacup on the table. She stretched out her white right hand to take the cup, blushed slightly, and kissed it gently. Zhang Yi was waiting for Yang Xinxin to come out outside the door. Shang Dawen was right next to him, smiling and chatting with Zhang Yi. Sir Hundun, are you satisfied with your stay in Xinjing these days? Zhang Yi said lightly, Not bad. Xinjing is worthy of being the capital. It is much more magnificent than Blizzard City in Jiangnan. You got the so-called Yuan or seems to be developing very well. Shang Dawen smiled and said, If Lord Hundun is willing, you can also get it. As long as you are willing to join the next action. I wonder what you think about it. Zhang Yi smiled and said, Okay. Shang Dawen was stunned for a moment. This seemingly irrelevant answer seemed to be irrelevant, but it cleverly avoided the question. Shang Dawen did not continue to ask. After a while, Yang Xinxin walked out of the Earth Temple. Zhang Yi walked over, smiled and looked down at her and asked, Are you happy chatting with old friends? Yang Xinxin nodded. Not bad. Then we will go back first. Zhang Yi said to Shang Dawen. Please go slowly, both of you. Shang Dawen immediately arranged for someone to send Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin back to their residence. After returning, Zhang Yi immediately asked Yang Xinxin about the information about Ho Tu. Did you get any useful clues from chatting with her this time? Yang Xinxin nodded. At least now we know that she is actually very weak. Zhang Yi thought about it, smiled and nodded in agreement. Yes, she is very strong, but she also has very clear weaknesses. The unknown is the most terrifying, but once the mysterious veil is slowly unveiled, the shock it brings to people will quickly decrease. The strict defense of the Earth Temple and the fact that Shang Dawen needs to be present in person show one thing: Guanlongyue's own ability has huge flaws. Therefore, she needs the protection of others. My guess is that the ability she possesses is spells. As long as the conditions for the spell are met, it will cause extremely terrifying lethality. However, she is lacking in close combat. Zhang Yi added, This is not necessarily the case, because we cannot determine the conditions for casting spells. Perhaps she can cast spells at close range without the help of a medium, but her close combat ability is definitely not as strong as long-range spells. Therefore, someone needs to protect her. Zhang Yi's eyes slowly lit up. This makes sense. Why are Ho Tu and Xidagarba unwilling to leave Xinjing and go to the Qinling Mountains to participate in the operation when there are 3 Ypsilons in Xinjing? Because Ho Tu is like the god of death of love. Although she is powerful, she also has flaws and cannot act at will. Xidagarba needs to stay in Xinjing to protect her and the entire city of Xinjing. Chapter 1173 Genius and Opportunity. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin's visit to Ho Tu was not in vain. At least they got some information about Ho Tu. Curse technique, right? The law of cause and effect. Zhang Yi rubbed his chin, his eyes suddenly fixed. Since it is a weapon of the law of cause and effect, then in order to produce results, there must be potential conditions that need to be completed. Yang Xinxin nodded. I remember that when I was in school, I studied her supernatural powers. And the props for casting the spell are things like hair or nails. Zhang Yi's eyes fixed when he heard this. If only hair or nails can meet the conditions for casting the spell, then it would be too easy for Xingjing to get a handle on him. After all, people naturally lose about 100 hairs every day. Yang Xinxin shook her head. It won't be that simple. If that's the case, Shengjing District can now rely on her to directly surpass the other 5 districts. After all, in that case, other Ypsilons will not pose any threat to Xingjing. Zhang Yi crossed his arms and thought seriously. If a medium is needed, it must be something on the body. Hair, nails, things like that may be. If not, it is flesh and blood. Suddenly, Zhang Yi's mind suddenly emerged with a sentence that Li Changgong once said to him. Never reveal your name casually, because a person's real name contains cause and effect. Is the name also one of the conditions? Zhang Yi bit his nails subconsciously and murmured. Yang Xinxin said faintly, I think Zhu Zheng must know some more accurate information. Not only him, but the commanders of other districts also know more than ordinary people. After all, Ho Tu is also one of their means to restrain the top aliens in their respective regions. Zhang Yi rubbed his eyebrows. It's a really vexing problem. Yang Xinxin smiled and said, after all, Guanlongyue is the foundation of Xingjing, and her ability will certainly not be known to others so easily. Brother, you don't have to worry so much. At least according to the current situation, the conditions for her ability to be used are relatively harsh. Yang Xinxin thought of her ability and murmured, even the ability of the law of cause and effect has different effects on people. Just like my angel of desire, the ability of the arrow will weaken the effect on people with strong willpower or aliens with strong spiritual power. Hearing this, Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xinxin and couldn't help asking, Xinxin, tell me, if you become a powerful Ypsilon like Guanlongyue, what will your ability be like? Yang Xinxin's obsidian eyes flashed with a playful look. Who knows? But now, my arrows have a much stronger influence on people than before. The control time of the arrow of love is getting longer and longer. Maybe one day, I really reach that point, and I can make others completely my slaves. A bold idea emerged in Zhang Yi's mind. If she could really do that, maybe Yang Xinxin could form a group of aliens who were absolutely loyal to her. If that were the case, Yang Xinxin's strength would definitely not be inferior to Guanlongyue's. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. It seems that I am very lucky to have such excellent partners like you around me. Among the partners at home, several people have extraordinary abilities. For example, Liang Yu, the martial arts master, and Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin, who showed amazing potential in the later period. If they grow up, they will become the most important auxiliary force around Zhang Yi. And Zhou Ke's doctor ability also completely solved their worries about injuries. Although the abilities of others seem to be slightly weaker, they also come in handy. Zhang Yi does not force everyone to have extremely powerful abilities. Therefore, he was very impressed by his luck. But Yang Xinxin did not think so. She walked to Zhang Yi and looked up at Zhang Yi with a look of admiration mixed with a hint of obsession. Brother, this is not your good luck. It's the good luck of all of us. It's because of you that we have the opportunity to live to this day and show our abilities. I have always believed that there is no lack of geniuses in this world, but a lack of opportunities. Just like Liu Bang, Xiao He, Fan Kuai, and others all came from Pei County. Zhu Yuanzong, Suda, and Chang Yechen all came from Fengyang County. She shook her right index finger, muttering like a history teacher, with a quirky light in her eyes. It's not that all the outstanding talents in history gathered together, but that the people in that place happened to have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to stand out. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and smiled. I just gave you the opportunity to display your talents. But then again, this may be the survival of the fittest. If you were not extremely outstanding, you would not have waited for me to appear, and you would have died in the endless extreme cold like others. For Ho Tu, Zhang Yi had no good way to deal with it for the time being. But fortunately, he was just thinking about danger in times of peace, and did not have any conflict with Shengjing district. There is no conflict. So in the short term, according to his style of doing things, he doesn't have to worry about being remembered by Ho too. But he kept this matter in mind and still asked Yang Xinxin to spend time to investigate it. I have to go back and read the classics carefully and check the various witchcraft and incantations in ancient times. Maybe we can get some clues from it. Zhang Yi crossed his arms. Those messy things in the past are not the same as superpowers. Yang Xinxin blinked, but superpowers come from the heart. Guan Longyue's greatest wish in this life is that his curse power really has extremely powerful power to prevent the tragedy of his life. Then this long-cherished wish must be related to the legendary method. Researching it may have unexpected gains. Zhang Yi nodded, thinking that what Yang Xinxin said did make some sense. Then you investigate it carefully. He slowly narrowed his eyes. After I return to Blizzard City, I will find someone to investigate it carefully. He will not go to find Zhu Zheng, because at present, he does not know what the trigger medium of Ho Tu's Hell Guillotine is. Going to Zhu Zheng to ask him would only show his fear. Zhu Zheng was so cunning that he would definitely not miss this opportunity to gain a position to talk to him. So, it would be useless to ask him. Zhang Yi thought of Deng Yuanbua, who had a wide network of contacts in Huaxi country and might know something. Chapter 1174 before heading to Qinling Mountains. Earth God Temple. After Guan Longyue saw Yang Xinxin off, an excited smile appeared on her lips, and her sharp canine teeth rubbed against her lower teeth slightly. Xinxin, where will you go? In this already chaotic world, she muttered in her heart. At this time, Qin Shigong's voice suddenly came to her ears. Xiaoguan, how about it? Is your friend willing to stay? No, he was rejected very cleanly. Guan Longyue said. Oh, is that so? That's really a pity. But I'm curious, do you insist on meeting this old classmate for any special purpose? When Qin Shigong said this, his tone was quite helpless. As the biggest secret weapon of Shengjing district, any information about Guan Longyue is confidential. In principle, except for him and a few trusted waiters, no one can easily approach the Earth God Temple, where Guan Longyue is. But this meeting was strongly requested by Guan Longyue, and Qin Shigong had to respect her decision. Guan Longyue just replied calmly, just wait and see. My friend, she may become more powerful than chaos in the future. Oh. This sentence made Qin Shigong interested, and his tone became much more cautious. Can she be more powerful than chaos? Could she be on par with you? Guan Longyue smiled and said, I don't know. Ability is not important to her. I only know that she is a genius, and she is also a crazy person. Such a person, no matter what she wants to do, will become extremely dangerous. At this point, she sighed lightly. But now she doesn't seem to care about her own strength, which is a pity. Time quickly came to 7 days later. The time Qin Shigong gave the representatives of the 5 regions to consider expired. Therefore, the meeting was held again. Qin Shigong gathered everyone together and asked them with a smile about their final decision. As a result, the East China Sea region was naturally unable to participate because of Xuanwu's personal problems. The representative of the Southwest region, Paji Gesang, smiled and shook his head, saying that he had reported the matter to the most respected Sangha temple Tripa, Yashalang Taideji, and the master of the cemetery. But the final result of the discussion was that the power of the Tantric sect was limited, and there was Barada on the west side, so it was impossible to send people to participate in the action. Qin Shigong knew that the problems in the Southwest region were more complicated. For many years, politics and religion had been combined. After the end of the world, the power of the 4 local chieftains was unimaginable. So he didn't say much, just said, I understand. Chief Paji has worked hard. Paji Gesang smiled and nodded, and then sat aside without saying a word. As for the other regions, everyone knew Li Chonggong's position. He needed a successful action to consolidate his position in the Northwest region. So, he was the first to express his willingness to cooperate. In the Northeast, Han Shanzhua also readily agreed to cooperate, but he put forward some stricter requirements for the specific details of the cooperation. And Qin Shigong also said that there was no problem with these. Finally, everyone's eyes fell on Zhang Yi. Among the representatives of the 5 regions, Zhang Yi was the most special because his relationship with the Jiangnan region officials was not affiliation, but cooperation. So no one could figure out his attitude, and most of the time, Zhang Yi prioritized his personal interests. Mr. Hundun, I wonder what you think. Qin Shigong asked sincerely. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. I have thought about this question. If I am allowed to participate in this operation, I have some concerns, and I have to ask you to help me solve them first. Qin Shigong asked curiously. Oh, if you have any concerns, you can tell me. Zhang Yi said faintly. First of all, it's intelligence. Regarding everything underground in the Qinling Mountains, no one has the information there except you. If you want me to participate, you must reveal all the underground information to me without reservation. Zhang Yi said here, and looked at Qin Shigong deeply. I also want to see the complete video of Jin Yuanzi fighting with 2 Ypsilon-class centipedes.
Qin
Shigong lowered his head and pondered for a while, and soon responded. I can make the decision on this. As long as you participate, I will arrange it for you immediately. Zhang Yi nodded. Then let's talk about the second point. He looked at Li Changgong across the table and narrowed his eyes slightly. I have a grudge with Go Qin, so it is difficult to guarantee that he will not attack me during the operation. Zhang Yi will not be a teammate with someone he doesn't trust. That would be too dangerous. 10,000 meters underground, they have to face 2 mutant beasts of the White Chariot level. 4-2, the chances of winning are still very high. But if someone attacks from behind, it will be fatal. Li Changgong's face suddenly changed. Chaos? What do you mean? I am a soldier. I can't do such a dirty thing. Li Changgong's voice was loud. He thought Zhang Yi was insulting him. Zhang Yi said lightly, Oh, really? Maybe you think so now. But if after our life and death battle, I am seriously injured and dying, there are only 2 of us around, and you have healing medicine to save me, will you heal me or watch me die? Li Changgong, Zhang Yi, don't lie. Ask yourself what you think in your heart. Li Changgong's words were choked for a moment. The picture that Zhang Yi said actually emerged in his mind. Suddenly, his back felt cold, and a layer of white sweat appeared. Because he was horrified to find that he hesitated when he put himself in the shoes of others to consider that situation. Backstabbing a friendly army is the greatest shame for a soldier. But he still has a great resentment towards Zhang Yi. This resentment is usually suppressed, but when no one is around, he may not be able to control the demon in his heart. Zhang Yi saw his hesitation and couldn't help but sneer. You see, Li Changgong came back to his senses and quickly explained, I will never do that kind of thing. I guarantee it with the honor of my family. Qin Shigong crossed his hands on the table and said with a smile, Human nature cannot stand the test. Just like no matter how good a person is, if he needs money and sees a piece of gold in a remote and deserted wilderness, he will have the urge to take it for himself. So, it is meaningless to use morality to restrain. Qin Shigong suddenly frowned. Let's use discipline. Here, I, Qin Shigong, can make a statement as the supreme commander of Shengjing district. If anyone dares to attack an ally during the operation, Shengjing will spare no effort to punish him and make his evil deeds known to the world. At the same time, I also hope that other regions participating in the operation will work together to attack him together. Chapter 1175, Paja Jesang's Invitation. Qin Shigong's proposal was supported by everyone. After all, no one wants to be stabbed in the back while fighting. In fact, not only Zhang Yi was worried, Li Changgong also had this concern. Therefore, everyone agreed, without hesitation. Zhang Yi glanced at Li Changgong and said lightly, I personally add one more thing.
I still have the video of the battle that day.
If I find out that you are doing something behind my back, I guarantee that the video will be spread all over the world. Li Changgong's face was a little dark. Humph. If I really did that kind of thing, you can do whatever you want. This time, the 4 major regions finally reached an agreement. Participate in the task of Qinling Abyss together. After the task is completed, the other 3 can each take 10% of the yuan or resources. In addition, Shengjing District must share all the information about Qinling underground with the other 3 major regions without reservation. As for the East China Sea District and the Southwest District, they are naturally not qualified to know. Qin Shigong saw that a consensus had been reached, and the smile on his face became much more relaxed. We can only win this battle and not lose. The 4 regions will join forces, and the 4 top Ypsilon warriors will face 2 Ypsilon centipedes. The chances of winning are quite high. However, in addition to the 2 Ypsilon queens and kings, there are also extremely terrifying numbers of centipedes underground. So each region needs to send some powerful aliens to go underground together to clear these small monsters. In principle, Delta-level mutants can hardly pose a threat to combat-type Ypsilons. However, there are too many centipedes in the abyss, and some of them are as powerful as captains. A lot of ants can kill an elephant. Even if 4 Ypsilons join forces, if they fight underground, it will be very difficult to deal with 2 Ypsilon centipedes and a large number of ordinary alien insects at the same time. Since we are going to fight, we must be fully prepared. Qin Shigong said, "My suggestion is that except for some aliens with special abilities, aliens with an ability index below 9,000 points are not recommended to go. Let them be responsible for cleaning up the monsters, and the 4 of you will directly hunt down 2 Ypsilon-level mutant beasts." No one had any objection to this. However, Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows when he thought of this. The overall strength of the Jiangnan district is the lowest among the 6 districts. In addition, the number of captain-level aliens was a bit small in the previous operations. Now, it doesn't make much sense to transfer them from Blizzard City. In that case, he needs to let his partners participate in this operation. After all, I can't protect them for a lifetime. I need them to grow with me. After thinking for a while, Zhang Yi decided to let Liang Yu, Hua Hua, and even Fatty Su participate in the operation. Only in this way can they grow up quickly, instead of relying on Zhang Yi alone. Especially Hua Hua and Liang Yu, they are standard martial arts factions and need to continue to grow in battle. Qin Shigong gave them another 3 days to study the information and prepare manpower and equipment for the operation. 3 days later, we will officially go to the Qinling Mountains. Then we will meet up with Zhen Yuanzi, Qin Shigong said. Everyone agreed, but they didn't eat much. They left the table one after another and went back to prepare for the next task. After leaving the conference hall, it was snowing outside, and the huge and empty square was covered with a thin layer of snow. Zhang Yi stepped into the snow and walked forward step by step. Just as he was about to walk down the white marble steps, a voice with a strong accent suddenly came from behind him. "Mr. Hundun, please stay." Zhang Yi knew it was Paji Gasang as soon as he heard it. He turned around and asked with a smile, "Paji Tusi, what's the matter?" During this time in Shengjing, Zhang Yi was not idle. He took his family around Shengjing and did some other things in the middle. And Paji Gasang and Han Shanzhua actually invited Zhang Yi to drink and chat together. Zhang Yi still remembers the meal at Paji Tusi's house. Because he is a very good cook, the food he made is very memorable to Zhang Yi. Paji Gasang walked up to Zhang Yi with a smile. His fat body gave people a sense of humor like a tumbler, which made people feel close to him. "It's nothing special. It's just that I hit it off with you, and I really hope to become your best friend." Paji Gasang nodded slightly. Zhang Yi slightly widened his eyes and then smiled. "It's my honor." Paji Gasang said, "We came in a hurry and didn't prepare the most sumptuous banquet for you. This is my regret. When you return, please allow me to set up a wine reception for you, and we will drink together. What do you think?" Zhang Yi looked at the patriarch of the second family in the southwest region in front of him and thought to himself, "Does he want to have a good relationship with me? There's nothing wrong with that. This is the way of the world. Who doesn't want to forge a deep friendship with an Ypsilon strongman?" Zhang Yi nodded and was about to agree. But after thinking about it, he suddenly smiled and said, "We don't know how long it will take us to come back this time. So, do you think we have to stay here forever?" The southwest region is not participating in this operation, so staying here can only be to gather information. Biarv Paji Gasang smiled and nodded. It's a pity that Chiba and the funeral master did not agree to participate in this operation. But we still have awe for the mysterious Qinling Mountains. It is like the vast snow-capped mountains in our southwest, with mysterious legends and sacred symbols. Zhang Yi has heard of the snow-capped mountains, which is one of the main peaks of the Qinling Mountains and is located on the plateau of the southwest region. Since ancient times, the snow-capped mountains have been a place of pilgrimage for Tantric Buddhists, and there are countless legends in history. It has even attracted countless people from home and abroad, who go there for pilgrimage and worship all year round. Some people even say that after reaching the snow-capped mountains, the soul can be redeemed. Zhang Yi didn't think much about it, just thinking it was a polite statement from Paji Gasang. Well, when I come back, you must let me taste the most authentic wine and food from your snowy plateau, Zhang Yi said with a smile. Paji Gasang nodded and put his right hand on his chest. Here I am, wishing you good luck in military affairs. Zhang Yi nodded. Thank you. Then let's drink together when we return victorious. Zhang Yi didn't take this little episode to heart. He just regarded it as a very ordinary social event. He turned around and walked out of the palace gate on the snow, but he didn't notice that behind him, Paji Gasang was staring at his back, and his squinting eyes revealed deep thoughts. This is a rare treasure. Thanks for staying tuned. This video ends here. Please also visit my friend's channel, Manga Piece. She has posted some nice manga series and needs your support. Link in the comment.